And he walks in, and this particular day, I have to admit, like I was dressed like the Black Duke of Windsor. Like I was Murk, M-U-R-K, Murking, right? Like full out, the watch vibe, And so he walked in, he walked straight to my table. I stood up, and it was like a little stare down match on some
wow.
And I won. And then he just pointed at the old girl like, yo, get this dude. It was the 2A's then. Remember the 2A? Anybody with me? 2A.
Yeah, I had a 2A.
Stay with me. He's like, yo, it was, get this dude my 2A number. Well, I didn't call him the next day because I'm busy.
The culture froze when Mace dropped a story that made people rewind clips from the bad boy era with fresh eyes because what sounded like a casual detail suddenly felt loaded. The mention of Diddy's infamous umbrella man wasn't about fashion or old flexes. It was about how fast people can disappear when power shifts. Back then, the image was iconic. The umbrella symbolized dominance, excess, and control. Someone standing close enough to hold it meant proximity to the throne. But when Mace explained why that figure vanished, the conversation flipped from nostalgia to suspicion. In hip-hop, visuals are never accidental. Every accessory, every person in frame, every background character has meaning. The Umbrella Man wasn't just there to block rain. He represented hierarchy. He represented who was useful and who wasn't. When Mace peeled back that layer, fans realized how little they questioned these moments at the time. The industry moves fast and people get used up fast.
Did you make the right decision leaving rap?
I did. Everything now that we see playing out was all the things I escaped. The car, the Shine, the Loon, Puff Daddy, the Craig Mack, the Biggie Smalls. So even though I made those decisions and it cost me money, that's why I got with Killer and they gave me the money back. Me and Puff was like, I felt like I did more than I got credit for, more than I got paid for.
You felt or did you do that? Because you said felt, like
okay,
feeling.
let's clear that up then.
You saying you feeling that?
No, we're gonna keep it with, because I'm trying to be nice. I never got paid what I was worth, and I never got the respect I was worth. So the disdain that I got for Puff is more like, you trying to keep me here. I'm not here. All my peers is up here. All my peers are bosses. When it's time, just like somebody raised somebody up, they did work with you. They go from your little man to maybe A&R to something else. He just kept trying to keep me right here, like he didn't want me to grow at anything.
What made this revelation hit was timing. Mace didn't bring it up during the peak years. He brought it up when the shine had faded and stories could be told differently. That delay matters. People talk differently when they're no longer dependent on the machine. The streets understand that. Truth doesn't always come out when the money's flowing. It comes out when people step away from the table. The Umbrella Man's disappearance became symbolic. No announcement, no explanation, just gone. In the industry, that usually means something changed behind the scenes. Loyalty, usefulness, access, all of it has an expiration date. The streets know this pattern well. Stand close long enough, and eventually you're either elevated or erased.
The thing is it was how fast he disappeared.
Yes. Now he lives in Atlanta. He's married. He has 2 sons. He's living his life. I mean, but how many? Listen, y'all, if you've ever lived in Atlanta, the majority of them are bisexual and gay men. They just give up their life to be married and gave their life to God, and then your pastor.
And down low culture is still very, very, very heavy in the Black community in Atlanta. It's funny because Atlanta's like a gay mecca. You would think that there would be no need for down low culture, but down low culture is thriving in Atlanta still.
And it's weird because you can find whatever you want in Atlanta, any kind of relationship, poly, orgies, whatever you're into, you can find somebody there that's into it. It really. You may meet somebody and ladies like, yeah, these are my 2 husbands.
Yeah.
So you think he was Diddy's concubine?
Absolutely. He was too complicit and he was too compliant, and he just disappeared. He disappeared faster than Mace did. When Mace ran from Diddy, you could see the trailer just fire from his footsteps as he ran
that is
to
true.
the church. But I don't understand why people don't ask why. People, oh yeah, he gone. Oh, okay. Nobody bothered to ask why.
Mace's tone wasn't dramatic, but the implication was heavy. He wasn't accusing. He was exposing how disposable certain roles are around power. That's what shook people. It wasn't about one person disappearing. It was about a system that treats people like props until they're no longer needed. Fans started rewatching old videos, interviews, award shows. The umbrella became a symbol instead of a joke. That's when the narrative changed. Once symbolism clicks, it's impossible to unsee. And once people start questioning symbols, they start questioning everything else around them. This wasn't a hit piece. It was a perspective shift. And perspective shifts always cause chaos because they force people to admit they missed something hiding in plain sight.
I guess when I moved to New York, obviously I stood out dressing like this, you know, in a lot of the hip hop clubs and things. And, you know, literally one day he came up to me. He was like, you know, I really want you to work on my fall wardrobe. So I exchanged information with him, a very important two-way number. And now knowing how his schedule is, it was very difficult to get with him, actually. So during his trial, we sent him a lot of, you know, spiritual verses just to kind of support him. And then one day, I left the restaurant. I was working as a maitre d' for the Madison Park, a fantastic restaurant in New York City. And I said, you remember the guy from New York City that traveled to, you remember the guy from Howard that traveled to New York City to intern with Andre Harrell and that guy in 2001? Please, I need a job. And he said, come to 1396 3rd Avenue on this two-way, and I literally raced to that address, and I started as assistant that day. And the rest is history.
As the clip circulated, the streets started connecting dots. Because the umbrella story wasn't isolated, it fit into a bigger pattern. The bad boy era was built on image, control, and spectacle. Success looked loud, but structure stayed quiet. People close to power often serve a purpose until that purpose runs out. Then they vanish without ceremony. Mace's comments pushed fans to think about how many other people disappeared quietly over the years. Not just assistants, but collaborators, creatives, and background figures who once felt essential. In the industry, silence doesn't mean peace. It usually means replacement.
He was always right there, but not like at nighttime when we was doing things. He wasn't around, bro. He was only there when the cameras was there and shit like that. I don't know how much he could do. I don't know if he would say anything because he probably signed the ND, a non-disclosure, and he don't want to say anything against Puff anyway because Puff got shit on him. And I ain't talking about no sexual shit, none of that shit.
What made the Umbrella Man detail stand out was how visible he once was. He wasn't hidden, he was front and center, then suddenly nothing. That kind of disappearance doesn't happen by accident. It happens when roles change or when someone stops fitting the image being pushed. The streets don't need paperwork to understand this. They've seen it play out locally and globally. Proximity to power is temporary, loyalty is conditional, and visibility is a liability when it stops serving the brand. Mace's revelation felt like a reminder that hip-hop history often skips over the casualties. We remember the moguls, the stars, the hits. We don't remember the people who stood behind them until they were no longer useful. That selective memory protects the myth.
The nigga was stealing, bro. Yo, bro. The niggas I don't want to put that on sticky fingers. That nigga right there, bro, don't lay nothing down around him. You heard me? Don't lay nothing down around dude right there. Dog, Jennifer Lopez had these boots, they cost $5,000. I'm like, what kind of fucking boots cost $5,000? Now you gotta realize, this is like in 2000, early 2000. These boots cost $5,000. And because she was gonna be out of the country or something like that, she didn't have them come to her house down in the village because she would have never got it because they'd be stealing her stuff down there at our apartment. So she had them come to Puff house. She wanted these boots so bad, she was mad. They looked through everything trying to find Jennifer boots. Because Puff had Puff, people used to just give him shit and send him shit from everywhere. So he had this mail room in his house with numbers just that he never even opened. But I don't know how Farnsworth Bentley found that shit. But we went over there to his house and we found a lot of Jennifer and everybody else's that belong to Puff.
Social media did what it always does. It amplified the moment. Threads popped up, old footage resurfaced, people asked uncomfortable questions, not about guilt or innocence, but about systems, about how power operates without accountability. This wasn't about embarrassing anyone. It was about pulling the curtain back slightly. Once the curtain moves even an inch, people start wondering what else they never noticed. The umbrella man became shorthand for disposable loyalty, a visual reminder that standing close to power doesn't guarantee safety, it guarantees exposure, and exposure can end quickly when the spotlight moves. The streets recognized this instantly. It wasn't gossip, it was a lesson dressed as a story, and lessons like that don't fade fast.
Then you hear about the fact that he broke Kim's nose on a yacht?
Wow, I ain't hear about that.
It was told by people in her camp that he broke Kim's nose on a yacht. So Cassie's story is Kim's story. Cassie's book is Kim's book. Bruh, when y'all look at this thing and saying force, y'all think that he probably threatened to beat her, threatened to do something like that. That ain't what force is. It could come from the mentality. Yo, he put her in a certain position, in a certain situation, in a certain time in her life. You understand what I'm saying? That she saw no way out other than doing what he told her to do. He had mentally controlled her. It's like a pimp. Diddy had pimp potential. He had her mind messed up where it controlled her.
The deeper the conversation went, the clearer it became that Mase wasn't just telling a story, he was reframing an era. The bad boy run gets remembered for hits, fashion, and dominance, but rarely for the internal cost. The Umbrella Man anecdote cracked that door open. Mase has always been careful with his words, and that caution made the revelation heavier. He didn't rant, he didn't exaggerate. He stated it plainly, which forced listeners to sit with it. When someone doesn't oversell a point, the point lands harder. The streets also noticed how this aligned with Mace's broader narrative about pressure, control, and burnout. People don't walk away from success without reason. Stories like this fill in the gaps. They explain why certain exits happen quietly and why some chapters never get closure.
But for a long time, you famously had a butler, and the guy's name, Farnsworth Bentley.
Farnsworth Bentley.
And there were these great photos that would show up in the magazines. Let's see this photo right here of Farnsworth Bentley holding an umbrella over you.
Yeah.
I don't think it's raining there. This was to protect you
from the sun, and just in case it rained.
Just in case anything happened. This guy would
always
follow
have to be prepared.
I think he followed you around indoors with an umbrella over your head. Now what happened? He no longer works for you, is that right?
Yeah, yes. He's an entrepreneur. He has moved on to bigger and better things.
But this raises a big question.
Yeah.
Is there an opening? Do you have a butler now?
Yes.
Who are you what are you looking for in a butler now?
I'm telling you right now, I'm actually interviewing for a butler. I'm looking for a white man. White man.
You want a white butler?
White,
okay.
White man.
That's
white
good.
Man, equal opportunity employer.
Is there any
white
chance?
White man with an accent.
Is there any chance?
And a lot of knowledge.
Is there a knowledge? He has to have an accent and like a distinguished accent.
A lot of knowledge and service and fine wines and sexy.
Okay.
This moment also sparked discussion about image maintenance. Power structures rely on visuals that reinforce authority. When those visuals stop working, they get replaced. The Umbrella Man wasn't fired publicly. He was erased visually. That's more effective. Fans began questioning how many other symbols were carefully curated, how many moments were staged to send a message, and how many people played a role without understanding how temporary it was. The streets understand one thing clearly. Proximity is not ownership. Standing next to power doesn't mean you share it. It means you're useful to it, and usefulness has an end date. Mase didn't need to spell that out. The story did the work. The disappearance spoke louder than any accusation ever could. This wasn't about scandal in the traditional sense. It was about exposing how the machine treats people once the camera turns away, and once people see the machine, they stop romanticizing it. By the time the dust settled, the Umbrella Man story had already changed how fans look at hip-hop's golden eras. It wasn't about ruining memories, it was about adding context. Context makes history heavier, but also more honest. The streets didn't react with outrage, they reacted with recognition. This wasn't shocking because it was unbelievable. It was shocking because it felt familiar, too familiar. This moment reminded everyone that power doesn't always move loud. Sometimes it moves quietly, replacing people without explanation. That's how systems protect themselves. Mace's words didn't accuse anyone of crimes. They exposed dynamics that have existed in music, business, and street culture forever. And once dynamics get exposed, people start watching closer. The Umbrella Man became more than a person. He became a symbol of how fast access can turn into absence. That symbol will stick. The biggest takeaway isn't about Diddy or Mace. It's about awareness. Awareness that standing close to power doesn't mean protection. Awareness that images are curated. Awareness that loyalty has limits when money and control are involved. Hip-hop doesn't lose by telling these stories. It grows, it matures, it stops pretending everything was perfect. If you stayed locked in through this entire breakdown, make sure to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss the next story the streets won't stop talking about.